Hey, welcome back. Today, I'm going to show you how to make gluten-free sourdough bread, which all sourdough is gluten-free, but I'm going to show you how you can tell that it's gluten-free. Just a simple little trick. And so, with all my instructionals how to make sourdough, I always want to make it really simple. So what I'm doing here is getting whole wheat flour. You can buy it from the store. It's just whole wheat. You can use anything you want, but the other flours just won't have the nutrients in them. And there's really no need to measure anything. Just pour enough in there that you're going to have a big enough dough ball. Now, one of my past videos, I think I said you pour the dough in there, but it's flour. It's ground wheat. And then what we're going to do is I have the starter from this morning, and I'm going to get that ready sitting right there. But then I'm going to take water and just pour some in. And now I just stir it. And it just takes a little bit of water. I mean, but notice I didn't quite put enough in there. And so add a little more. Now, I'm doing this in a black shirt just to show you how easy it is and non-messy, famous last words. We'll see about that. But it really is not messy. I haven't got any on me yet. Had to peer down a little bit to check that out. But all I'm doing is just mixing the water and the wheat. And if you get a little bit too much water, it's a little bit too sticky, just take a little more flour and throw in there. It's not a big deal because it's all relatively about the same size of a dough ball. You just kind of want it like Play-Doh. And once you make the dough ball, you put a little starter in there, work it through, and you're done. You bake it. That's how simple it is. But I want to show you for those people that are gluten sensitive, which really what that shows me is that their body's working properly, because gluten sensitivity is the same as sensitivity to chewing gum when you're young. Gluten is gum. It comes from the word glue. And so when you're young, you know, they'll say, don't swallow your gum, can't digest it. So any of you that are actually gluten intolerant, have an issue with gluten, don't feel bad, because your body's working exactly sensitively like it's supposed to. Because grains were not meant to be eaten in this form. And when you put yeast in it, it blows up air bubbles and then you bake it, but the gluten hasn't been broken down. What we're going to do is we're going to break the gluten down. So I want to show you a little trick that's going to show you whether or not it has gluten in it. So since this doesn't have yeast in it, you can actually eat the dough, but you don't want to eat it with gluten in there like it has now. Now, normal bread recipes that have yeast in there, they'll work this dough until it turns really gluey. If I take and chew on some of this, I can actually turn it to chewing gum and blow a bubble with it. It turns into gum. And when you do that on a bread recipe, you're creating almost a balloon-like structure that will hold the air. And so, when the yeast makes air bubbles, it blows up and it holds it and makes the bread puffy. I want to show you, though, how you can tell the gluten's gone. So just for an example, you take a little bit of dough. Now, this is okay with no yeast in it. You could eat it other than it has gluten in it. But when you chew on it, it turns to chewing gum. And it was always called farmer's gum. You can do a search on farmer's gum. That's how gum was made. Now, what I'm going to do, I took my starter out this morning, put a little bit of flour and water in it, and it was enough time that it bubbled up. Now I'm taking a couple spoonfuls, I'm working it through, and then I'm done. Now, we don't have to work the dough and get that gluey structure going because we're not using yeast. There's no need to in sourdough whatsoever, because the process of fermentation completely wipes out the gluten. And that's what I'm going to show you and how you can actually tell. So gluten intolerant people, they let this ferment, the gluten's going to be gone, and the nutrients are going to be unlocked, and you can have bread again, because bread is not made correctly nowadays for eating grain, and that's why you're gluten intolerant. And so that bread's done. Now I'm still chewing on that, so I'll show you what happens in just a little bit. I'm going to show you exactly how you can tell that your bread's gluten-free. How's my shirt doing? It's still good. Okay, now I have just a teeny bit of flour left over. I'm just sprinkling that on this dish towel. I'm going to take just a teeny bit more. It just provides a non-stick coating for it that it will ferment too by tomorrow. Put that in there. A little bit on top. And that's that. Bread's done. Your bread's made. It's that simple. You just bake it, and you really don't have to pay that much attention to how long you bake it either. You can put it in a Dutch oven and leave it in there for 30 minutes at 500. You can leave it in there 25 minutes. It doesn't really matter as long as it's long enough to cook the inside. Take the lid off, and once you take that lid off, you wait for it to turn brownish. So I want to show you what this looks like. Oh, the longer you chew on it, I know that's kind of gross, but whatever. The longer you chew on it, though, the gummier it gets. Right now, it's in strands like chewing gum. And you should really try it. Just don't swallow it, but you'll see what I mean. That is gluten. Gluten, gum. That's the part you don't want to swallow and eat because it's hard to digest. Just like that bubble gum is when you were young. Put that down the drain. So what we're going to do, and I'm going to edit this in tomorrow, but we're going to let that ferment overnight and watch that gluten completely disappear. So when you take a little bit of that tomorrow, put it in your mouth, it just melts. There's no more glue, no more gummy substance whatsoever. When it's like that to your satisfaction, it could be tomorrow at noon, or if it's not enough then, you leave it till night. Just a quick little test. You can tell if it has any gummy feel left in it, and you'll be able to tell, trust me. And remember, this isn't yeast. This isn't yeasted dough. This is not harmful. You could eat this. You could eat it without baking. I do eat some without baking. It's ground up seeds that you put water in. It's great. So it won't bother you or hurt you to put it in your mouth and to chew on it and see what happens. And when you chew on it or move it around in your mouth, you can feel the glue now, but tomorrow you'll come back, that glue is going to be completely gone, and that's the way it's supposed to be. So gluten intolerant people can eat the bread once the gluten has been wiped out, and that gluten will be wiped out. And as many studies show, the nutrients become multiple times more assimilable into your body. So the nutrition is able to be absorbed into your body. And the lectins, what it's called, or the natural defenses of the plant from predators, bugs, and things that are naturally present that are harmful for people before fermentation, get completely wiped out. And so this is the key, the unlocking of the wheat and other plants that have gluten also. But it's the complete unlocking of the nutrients and the way it was supposed to be eaten. But wait till you see what happens when we come back, and it's going to be like magic, obviously, through editing. So I won't have to take my shirt and wash it, I don't think, because I've done pretty well. That's how easy it is. Just throw this and wash it, put that back in the refrigerator, and we're done. So stay tuned. I'm going to show you exactly what it's like when I come back. And just like that, we're back. And so now I'm going to show you what a day will do. A day went by just like that. It's pretty amazing. But we're going to show you what a day will do to the fermented dough. Now, I've been chewing on some dough again. I want to show you, you can really see now that that is what gluten is. It's gum. It's called farmer's gum. And that's the part that's not digestible. And you can see that it will not go away. You can chew on it and chew on it just like a piece of chewing gum, and it's going to stay just like that. And so your stomach has to break that down. Now I'm going to set that aside and show you what a fermented loaf looks like. So it's been sitting, it's about 24 hours, and it doesn't really matter how long you leave it. You can always check whether or not the gluten is dissolved by taking a little bit, pop it in your mouth, chew it, and you can tell as you swish it around if it has that glue in it. And you can see that it breaks up right away. I know that's a little gross, but for demonstration purposes, I wanted to show you that there is no glue left anymore. And so what happened was that starter went in, spread through the entire loaf, and neutralized all the gluten, and also made the nutrients assimilable. So now it's very quick to make the bread. Now I got a couple mitts to get into the oven with. You know, these are really a great addition. You do not want to burn yourself. The oven is at 500. This is the Dutch oven, which is basically a pot. We do not want to touch it without a mitt on, that is. So I'm going to take this parchment paper and put the loaf over the top. Take the bowl away. And you can see even if that towel sticks a little, in this instance it seems like it's going to stick a little bit more, but it's okay. Nothing has to be that exact. You really don't even need to score it, to be honest. You'll just have a crack in another spot. And what am I going to score there? It kind of got messed up coming off of the dish towel, but I'm going to drop it in there. Do not touch the sides of that. That's been preheating at 500 degrees. Put the lid on. We're going to put it in. And one of the most important things is setting the timer. And honestly, I'm just going to leave it for about 27 minutes. You can leave it up to 30 minutes. You just want to have that inside cooked, and then I'm going to let you see. But I wanted you to know, if you have gluten intolerance, really quick way to just show yourself that the gluten is gone is to compare the before and after. Just chew on a little bit of it. You can tell that there is no gum left in it, and there definitely is at the start, as I showed you. So I'll come back and show you real quick what that's going to look like once again in a magic period of time, as the time just flies by, just like. And so here we are back right around 30 minutes, and all I'm going to do is open the oven with my mitts on, of course, take the lid off, shut it, and leave it 10 more minutes. And watch how fast this goes by. Okay, we're back, and it's actually not quite 10 minutes, but well, actually what I do is you want to take a look at it, and if it just starts to darken on the top, that's just about right. What I'm going to do, don't touch the pot. You want to take a cooling rack. You don't have to use one, it just helps get air underneath it. And here's a really easy way to get your bread out without burning you, since that is hot. I take a couple forks. I don't really care if I make a couple holes in it. And then that pulls right out. And now you have some gluten-free bread right there. And I'm one to cut into it right away. I don't care about waiting or doing anything like that. It doesn't make any difference to me. The bread's just as good. And actually, why don't we just do that? I'm going to grab a board. That's pretty quick to be cutting. And I'm going to take a knife here. This is going to be a little warm, but I'm going to do it. Just came out of there. And let's see with it that hot, what happens if I just cut into it and don't even let it cool at all. Just terrible, right? Just terrible. Can't let it cool down. But hey, if you put butter on this and honey, you can see, look at that steam come off of there. And to anyone with gluten intolerance, you're going to love this bread. You can put salt on it if you didn't put it in there before, and you could dip it in olive oil on salt, make a sandwich with it. Bread is bread. That's perfect. And as you can see, you can show yourself that it doesn't have any gluten in it by doing that little test. I think anybody who can't really eat gluten, you'll know when you eat this bread that you're okay and bread is back. So hit the like button and subscribe down below. We'll see you in the next video.